From the framework to its financial reality, please welcome Foteini, Sifoniou, crew manager at Swiss Marine, and talking on the cost of health and P&I and crew claims. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. I would like to start with a quick question. Raise your hands if any of you had a sudden emergency claim within the last 12 months. Okay, and how many of you have to deal with a Filipino claim? I'm not mentioning anything else. Okay, I see many hands, so I think that this means that dealing with crew management involves also such kind of unpleasant situations that usually happens in the middle of the night with a phone call. I'm Foteini Sifoniou, crew manager of Swiss Marine, and today we're going to unpack the hard operational realities and expenses behind all these stressful phone calls that you have received. As we go deep into the cost of health and P&I claims. Think back to that emergency that you handled. What was your immediate priority? Obviously, how quickly you will get the crew member ashore and have proper medical treatment. In shipping, traditionally, the priorities were different. We were strictly commercial. We cared about a good hire, keeping the vessel well maintained, keeping the cargo undamaged. Of course, these are very important, but now we have to switch. And when a medical crisis hits, then we realize the real priorities. The crew is and will be our valuable and most vulnerable asset on board. So we should stop looking at crew health and wellness just another operational expense and recognize the importance of this. So what is the cost of health? Is it only a PEME or paying a claims compensation? Let's move to the anatomy of a claim now. So, when a claim hits your desk, a crew claim, of course, it typically falls into the three categories: physical illness, personal injury, or mental health. Okay, the first two ones are very well known to you. You have to handle a lot of such cases. But what about the third one, the mental health? What about the silent drivers, which is fatigue and isolation? Because imagine how many accidental trips or mishaps or falls are just the result of a crew member which is exhausted, burnt out, or distracted. So, let's examine now the industry statistics that are taken from the GARD Claims Report 2025. As we can see, if you think that cargo or navigation errors are the biggest P&I headaches that you have, think again. According to GARD data for 2024, the people's claims make a 48% of the total pie chart. Nearly the half of your entire profile, risk profile. Now, let's look closer at the number of crew claims by category. We see that the illnesses takes the 59% of the pie, while 37% is the injuries. The majority of our claims are not generated by unpredictable falls or hits, but rather by illnesses which might have been prevented at the end. During 2024, the three primary illnesses were abdominal complications, such as gastritis or ulcers, followed by cardiovascular incidents and chronic back issues. At the same time, the leading causes of accidents were slip and falls, physical strains from heavy lifting, and of course, cuts. But let's discuss now about the long-term data that have been provided by West P&I and covering six years from 2019 to 2025. If we examine the distribution of crew-related cases, then the numbers are almost equal. We see that the illness takes 49% of the percentage, the volume, and the injuries follow at 45%. So the numbers are more or less equal. But here is what gets interesting for us as managers. The cost, the actual money spent at the same period for these cases. Injuries cost about $148 million, while illnesses cost $98 million. And remember, this includes also the COVID-19 period. So what does this tell us? That illness happens slightly more often, but when a physical injury occurs, it is enormously more expensive and will cost us a lot. Another point that is very, very interesting is how the accidents and the illnesses are distributed according to the ship type. Bulk carriers are the undisputed leader. Behind them come the general cargo, the container ships, and finally the tankers. When we look at the amounts, again, the bulk carriers dominate in illness claims, and they are the leaders with almost $50 million spent. Crude oil tankers sit as just $10 million. What about the injury claims? This is the real surprise. Tugboats take the first position with a total spending of $40 million. Then comes the bulk carriers, and far, far away in the seventh position, the tankers. This may be justified by the fact that bulk carriers run and operate in a much more relaxed, let's say, framework compared to tankers. Now we have the crew claim escalation and how the financial cost is distributed. We have the routine claims, which is like a minor dental work, injuries, outpatient care, that typically cost between $5,000 to $15,000, which usually falls under our P&I deductible. So these routine costs are borne entirely by us as ship management and owners. However, a claim could be escalated into a major if we have to do with an emergency deviation, acute illness, or complex regional surgeries. The average cost then is between $50,000 to $150,000. And the third category, the severe claims, have to do with severe, let's say, cardiac events or total disability reimbursements, which may cost from $500,000 to $1 million. Not to mention also that all these costs are skyrocketing when we call USA ports or we have any claims in USA region. So this brings us to the financial iceberg model. For those that you have handled these claims throughout the last years, you will definitely know that the invoice is only the tip of the iceberg. It consists of the medical treatment and hospitalization, sick wages, hiring and flying out the reliever of the crew member, and so on and so forth. But what about the invisible costs that are hidden below the water? And apart from the cost of deviation, which may be reimbursed in net amounts by our P&I clubs, we may suffer off-hire delays, missed port windows and berth windows. Imagine you have to catch a Lacan and all of a sudden you had to make a deviation. This will destroy your next employment for sure. Not to mention the eventual reputational damage that you may suffer. All these commercial expenses are not compensated. I mean, those that are hidden below the water. And it's almost impossible to calculate them precisely. So, which are the ways to mitigate the cost? You see, the numbers are very high if we are talking for severe or major claims. We build a proactive life of defense, which includes three pillars. First of all, rigorous payment. as our first line of defense. We have to identify chronic illnesses before a seafarer boards the vessel. But let's be practical. What about a seafarer that is high risk, he's considered as high risk, but do we have always the option to reject him, especially if he's a captain? The answer is not easy. However, when we are fully aware of the chronic illnesses of a crew member, then we are far better equipped on how to manage and mitigate these issues, usually by using a telemedical team or doctors ashore. The second is the continuous onboard wellness, an approach that merges both physical and mental support, because we have not only to promote healthy lifestyles on boards, gyms, etc., but also to mitigate stress and isolation. Third, of course, is to cultivate a safety culture. We have to move safety from a tick-to-box procedure to a real active behavioral habit of our crew. It doesn't matter what new policy or new regulation will be imposed to our crew members. If they do not act instinctively, then the exact same accidents will happen again and again. So we have to change their mindset, first of all. So how to turn these pillars into action? We have to enhance our crew well-being. Some useful steps that we take as a company in Swiss Marine is to assist our crew members through the following. We have implemented the last years modern pre-employment psychometric tests using AI. This is assigned to everyone, to every seafarer that joins our vessels, even if he's a repeater or not. This gives us a good picture of not only his abilities and capabilities, his or her abilities or capabilities, but assesses their mental status, measures some indexes like OCD, and identify preferred mechanisms like how to cope with stress. Another measure, the second one, is the telemedical service applied. This saves a lot of time and eventually money, as previously Laura has mentioned to us, in case of an emergency, and also protects our owners' interests. Besides, the telemedical team is responsible to follow up even minor cases that may up to be serious if they are not from the very beginning solved. Also, they follow up the health issue of a conditional fit master that we discussed previously, that we did not have the option to reject. Also, by providing a 24-hour support line, this will enhance the wellness on board. But let's be honest, are they familiar with this kind of services, or are they willing to use them? We have this support line, and unfortunately, the numbers are not very promising. As we have seen also from the GUARD survey, only 3% uses these telesupport services to cope with stress. So this is an alerting number, which means that we have to promote and rebrand this kind of benefit again and again. As mentioned also previously, cultivating a safety culture is a priority and the main goal to keep all the crew safe on board. Rather than just introducing another form, we have to make them believe that they have to be safe on board. So, the takeaway is simple. Investing in crew health turns out to be our commercial shield for the future. Today, the true cost of health, apart from the traditional payment, includes also measures that we take to enhance crew well-being and welfare. This isn't an extra expense, shouldn't be counted like this. It's the ultimate investment to prevent loss and further exposure when a major claim comes. Let's keep our priorities clear. Keep the crew healthy, keep the vessel on course. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think let's keep the questions for the panel.
Okay, thank you.